He was born in a log cabin, but the only home Abraham Lincoln ever owned is at the corner of 8th and Jackson Streets in Springfield, and he purchased it 175 years ago this week.
Abraham Lincoln knew a fellow in town, Reverend Charles Drescher, who had a home over on 8th and Jackson Street that was available for purchase. And Abraham Lincoln, after a series of conversations, was able to fill out the appropriate paperwork and finalize a deal to buy the first and only home that he ever owned during his lifetime.
Now, whether the Lincolns toured the home to check it out first, or they just decided they wanted to buy it sight unseen, we don't know, but they did purchase the home, paying $1,200 in cash and conveying a piece of land here in town that was worth $300, so making the total price of $1,500 for what was then a small cottage.
This was the home of Lincoln the country lawyer, Lincoln the husband and father, and as his fortunes and family grew, so did his house.
In Springfield, Lincoln's just not a historical icon, he's our neighbor. This was where he chose to build his life, and so it is a house fitting of a lawyer who built a very phenomenal practice.
The Lincolns undertook a variety of renovations to the home during those 17 years that they lived there. One of them was to add a room on the back that was a first floor bedroom space. Prior to that, it was just attic loft sleeping space on the half story of that small cottage. And then the largest addition was in the mid-1850s when they added the full second story to the home, and that took the bedroom space, all the bedroom space, then upstairs.
Mary oversaw a pretty extensive renovation of the Lincoln home when it becomes a full 2 stories. And it corresponds with Lincoln's rising political fortunes as well as the fortunes of his legal career.
Buying a home in 1844 was a different undertaking than it is today, but the dream of home ownership is something that hasn't changed.
The Lincolns' progress to home ownership might be very familiar to people today, when they got married in 1842, they lived in a rooming house, rented a room called the Globe Tavern, and then from there they rented a small house, a small cottage. For Abraham Lincoln, this house was really more than he had ever experienced growing up. Certainly in the log cabins in Kentucky and Indiana and even in New Salem, when he bought this house, even as a small cottage, this was really quite an accomplishment for him.
After 17 years at 8th and Jackson, the Lincolns departed for Washington, D.C. They would never return.
In 1909, the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth, Robert comes back to Springfield. He does visit the Lincoln home, and he spends a few minutes in his old bedroom. And he doesn't want fanfare. He just spends a few minutes up there by himself, and you can only imagine what he was thinking during that trip. But we think that's the very last time that he visited the home.